Did you know that a simple 1953 DWEAT penny, a coin that most people would pass over without a second thought, has been linked with a staggering face value of $43 million and stands as one of the most incredible stories in numismatic history, a story that captures the imagination of collectors, treasure hunters, historians, and ordinary people who dream of finding fortune in the smallest of places. And when we start unraveling the layers behind this coin, we realize it's not just about metal, mint marks, or age. It's about mystery, scarcity, and the power of human fascination with rare objects that carry stories across time. The 1953 DWEAT penny minted in Denver carries with it a unique place in American coinage because it represents a transitional period where pennies were still struck in the wheat reverse design, before the Lincoln Memorial reverse replaced them in 1959. Yet despite the billions minted over the years, specific years like 1953 and specific mint marks like the D from Denver hold secrets, errors, and anomalies that push their potential value into the stratosphere, and the rumors of one example being valued at $43 million have fueled endless debates, discussions, and treasure hunts. People often wonder, how can a coin that was made of copper, worth just a cent at the time, suddenly be worth more than fortunes that entire families have worked generations to earn? And the answer lies in rarity combined with errors, provenance, and demand. Collectors know that value in coins is determined not only by age but also by the combination of condition, rarity, and whether a coin carries mistakes made at the mint. And the 1953 DWEAT penny has been surrounded by stories of misstrikes, doubled dies, off-center strikes, and other anomalies that could elevate its value to levels unimaginable. But beyond the errors themselves lies the mythos of specific specimens that may have once been owned by collectors of immense wealth, or linked with auctions where competitive bidding wars pushed the coin far beyond any reasonable market expectation, giving birth to the narrative of $43 million value. And when you look deeper, you'll realize that coins like these become more than currency. They become artifacts of American history. They become living proof that small objects can carry massive stories. Think about it. The wheat penny design itself is iconic. Introduced in 1909 to honor the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth, featuring his bust on the obverse and two simple wheat stalks framing the denomination on the reverse, a design that ran until 1958 and defined an entire era of American small change. The 1953 issues, including those from Denver, came during a time when America was recovering from the post-war era, when coin production was steady but errors still slipped through due to the sheer volume of minting, and while millions were made, only a handful escaped, with anomalies that collectors desperately chase today, such as punched mint marks where the D appears doubled, or double die errors where the details of Lincoln's face or lettering appear to shimmer in duplication. These are the kinds of mistakes that drive up values from a cent to thousands, sometimes millions. And in this case, the legend of the $43 million coin emerges from a perfect storm of rarity, condition, provenance, and hype, with whispers of a specimen graded at near-perfect condition being passed through elite collections, sparking tales of hidden treasures. Imagine the excitement of someone rummaging through an old jar of coins and spotting that tiny D under the date, realizing they might hold something that has shaken the numismatic world with stories of insane valuations. It's the kind of dream that keeps collectors searching, scouring flea markets, estate sales, and inherited coin jars for that one piece of copper that could change their lives. Because coins like the 1953 DWEAT penny symbolize possibility, the possibility that fortune is hidden in plain sight, and every collector knows that markets move not only on rarity but also on emotional stories, hype, and demand. So when media outlets or auction houses highlight a single specimen, calling it the most valuable wheat penny ever, it creates a ripple effect where ordinary coins gain attention and extraordinary ones gain legends. So the $43 million claim, while debated, has become part of numismatic lore, attaching an aura of mystery to every 1953 DWEAT penny in existence, making people dig through their pocket change with a new sense of wonder. Beyond value alone, this coin is a piece of American culture, a piece that links the everyday act of spending a cent in 1953 with the extraordinary world of rare coin auctions decades later. collectors often talk about how owning such a coin is not only about wealth but also about owning a tangible piece of history. A piece touched by millions yet distinguished by errors, luck, and survival in pristine condition. Consider also the grading system, because professional coin grading can make or break values. A 1953 wheat penny in average circulated condition might fetch only cents, maybe a few dollars, but in mint state, especially MS-67 or MS-68 with red luster preserved, the value skyrockets into thousands, and from there speculation builds on unique specimens that could, under the right circumstances, command astronomical sums. It's a game of condition, rarity, and timing, where legends are born. And for the wheat penny of 1953, the legend is that one exists with a $43 million story attached. Whether truth or myth, it's powerful enough to keep the world buzzing. Coin dealers often say that hype and belief are as valuable as the coin itself, and that's what makes stories like these thrive, beyond the numbers, beyond the copper content. The idea that one small cent could be worth $43 million fuels imaginations, and it keeps the world of collecting alive. So the next time you see a wheat penny, especially one dated 1953 with a D mint mark, take a second look, because behind that small coin lies the possibility of life-changing value and the thrill of uncovering history. And if you enjoyed diving into this story of the 1953 wheat penny and its jaw-dropping rumored value, make sure you like, subscribe, and stay connected for more incredible tales of rare coins worth big money in history. Next, 1958 wheat penny. Did you know that a tiny coin that once passed quietly through the hands of Americans in grocery stores, gas stations, and soda shops could now be worth an unbelievable fortune, with collectors and historians placing a staggering face value of $29 million on it? The 1958 wheat penny. A piece of copper that has transcended its humble origins and become one of the most fascinating and sought-after coins in numismatic history. A story that combines American culture, economics, rarity, mistakes at the mint, and the obsession of collectors who are always chasing the next big treasure. And when we look at the 1958 penny, we must first step back into the era that produced it, an America in the post-World War II boom where prosperity and industrial progress were rapidly changing society. Where coins were not just pocket change but vital tools for everyday transactions before the era of credit cards and digital money, and in that setting the Denver Mint struck millions of wheat pennies in 1958, most of which seemed unremarkable at the time, yet among them are rare variations, errors, and preserved specimens that today tell a completely different story, because the wheat penny series, designed by Victor David Brenner and first issued in 1909, had already captured the imagination of the American people. With Abraham Lincoln's portrait gracing the obverse to honor the centennial of his birth, and the simple wheat stalks framing the reverse, a design that was itself about to be retired after 1958, when the memorial reverse would take over in 1959, making the 1958 issue historically significant as the last year of the wheat penny era, and with the Denver Mint producing coins marked with the DE mint mark, the stage was set for some of the most collectible coins in circulation. But what makes a coin that once had a value of 1 cent skyrocket to a rumored $29 million today is not only its role in history but the presence of incredibly rare variations such as double die obverse errors, off-center strikes, misaligned dies, repunched mint marks, and other anomalies that transform what should be a common coin into a legendary piece. And collectors are especially obsessed with the 1958 double die obverse, a coin so scarce that only a handful are known. With its doubled lettering on the obverse creating an unmistakable look that makes it immediately stand out from the countless ordinary cents, and auction records have shown how even less dramatic errors on wheat pennies can fetch thousands, tens of thousands, or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. So when a coin as elusive as the 1958 double die enters the market, it drives bidding wars that catapult its value into the realm of millions. And beyond errors there is the importance of condition, since most coins circulated heavily, showing scratches, wear, and fading details. But the few that survived in pristine mint state condition, carefully stored or forgotten in old rolls, are like time capsules of American history, with perfect luster and sharpness that magnify their rarity, making them irresistible to investors, collectors, and museums alike. And what's fascinating about the 1958 DeWitt penny is that it not only embodies the end of an iconic design era but also sits at the intersection of rarity and cultural memory, reminding us how even the smallest artifacts of the past can capture imagination and value in ways that go far beyond their original purpose. And when you dive deeper into the world of numismatics, you discover that coins like the 1958 D are not just valued for their metal content but for the stories they carry, the mistakes that slipped past mint inspectors, the historical moments they represent, and the thrill of finding one tucked away in an attic jar or an old collection. Stories of people who stumbled across rare coins in pocket change or inherited collections and discovered they were holding fortunes in their hands continue to captivate the public, fueling the legend and driving up demand. And as we think about why a single cent coin could ever be linked to a face value of $29 million, we realize it is the perfect storm of factors: rarity, history, condition, desirability, and the competitive fire of collectors who will stop at nothing to secure such treasures. And in this sense, the 1958 DeWitt penny stands as one of the greatest numismatic icons, a reminder that sometimes the most ordinary objects in life can turn out to be extraordinary, that the next coin you pick up could change your life, and that history hides in plain sight inside the coins we often take for granted. So whether you are a seasoned collector, a curious enthusiast, or just someone who loves a good story about hidden treasures, the 1958 D penny is a shining example of how big money can be found in small places. And this is why it has achieved its legendary status in coin collecting circles, inspiring countless searches, endless debates, and dreams of striking it rich with a single find. And if you want to keep uncovering stories like this, diving into the fascinating world of rare coins and hidden treasures that could be sitting unnoticed in collections and pockets around the world, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more incredible discoveries. Next, 1945 Wee Penny, today's exciting journey into the fascinating world of rare coins where history, mystery, and hidden treasures collide. And in this episode, we're diving deep into the story of one of the most extraordinary discoveries in the numismatic universe, the 1945 Wee Penny, a coin that at first glance looks like any ordinary cent from the mid-20th century, but in reality has been valued at a staggering $16 million because of its unique errors, mistakes, and rare characteristics that make it a once-in-a-lifetime collectible. And if you've ever wondered how a single copper coin minted at the end of World War II could turn into something worth more than mansions, luxury cars, and even private jets, then you're about to discover the amazing truth behind this remarkable piece of American history. Because coins are not just metal tokens used for daily transactions, they are snapshots of eras, mirrors of the economy, and silent witnesses of great events. And in the case of the 1945 Wee Penny, it carries both the legacy of a wartime economy and the quirks of minting mistakes that catapulted its value far beyond the imagination of the average collector. So let's break it all down in detail and peel back the layers of what makes this coin so extraordinary, starting with its background. Since 1945 was a year marked by the final days of World War II, when the United States Mint was under tremendous pressure to produce coins quickly and in massive quantities to meet the needs of a booming post-war economy. And during this intense production environment, mistakes were bound to happen, from double strikes to off-center imprints, from planchet errors to mixed metal anomalies. And each of these potential mistakes gave rise to coins with characteristics so unique that collectors decades later would pay astronomical sums for them. And the 1945 Wee Penny happens to be one of those coins whose errors transformed it from a humble cent into a multi-million-dollar treasure. Because unlike the vast majority of pennies minted that year in copper or copper-alloy planchets, a few pieces were struck on steel planchets left over from 1943, when steel was used as a wartime measure to conserve copper for ammunition. And imagine the shock of collectors when a supposed copper coin from 1945 turned out to have traces of steel or other metallic inconsistencies, making it an ultra-rare hybrid with traits unseen in most examples. And then there were double die errors, where the coin's design appears to be duplicated or shadowed due to a misalignment in the minting process, with Lincoln's profile or the wheat stalks on the reverse showing ghost-like impressions, which make those coins not only striking to the eye but astronomically valuable to specialists. And let's not forget the off-center strikes where the coin is misaligned on the press, resulting in partial designs that cut off text like, "In God We Trust," or "Liberty," and those errors, far from being rejected, were sometimes released into circulation, adding to the rarity of surviving examples today. And when you consider all these possibilities together, it becomes clear why the 1945 wheat penny has become the stuff of legends among collectors, because not only does it embody the craftsmanship and imperfections of the minting process, but it also tells a story of transition. A nation emerging from war, resources being repurposed, and the mint scrambling to return to normal production, which left behind anomalies that collectors now cherish. And the value of $16 million attached to certain specimens is not just about the metal itself but about the combination of errors, rarity, and condition, because coin grading plays a massive role in determining price, and if a coin is preserved in mint state condition with luster, sharp details, and minimal wear, its value skyrockets compared to a circulated example, and so the top-graded 1945-era wheat pennies stand as crown jewels in collections, with wealthy investors and passionate collectors battling at auctions to secure ownership, sometimes pushing prices into the tens of millions. And it's incredible to think that a coin once casually passed across a candy counter could today be the centerpiece of a collection worth more than an entire art gallery. But this is the magic of numismatics, where the tiniest detail, like a misplaced mint mark or a faint double die, can transform a common coin into a life-changing discovery. And speaking of mint marks, the 1945 wheat penny exists in varieties struck at Philadelphia with no mint mark, Denver with a D, and San Francisco with an S. And within these varieties, mistakes in mint mark placement, or overpunching errors, like an S struck over a D, create even rarer combinations that collectors drool over. And when such errors are authenticated by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC, their documented rarity and provenance make them irresistible at high-end auctions. So it's not just about the coin being old, it's about the coin being rare, unusual, and tied to a historical moment, and the 1945 penny checks all those boxes. And this is where the excitement for treasure hunters and everyday hobbyists comes in, because you might just stumble upon one of these rare varieties in an old coin jar, tucked away in a relative's drawer, or inherited as part of a forgotten collection. And the thrill of finding a penny worth millions is what fuels the passion of collectors everywhere, keeping alive the dream that history's hidden gems are still out there waiting to be uncovered. And when we dive even deeper into the minting errors that make the 1945 wheat penny so fascinating, we find additional quirks like die cracks, where tiny fractures in the die leave raised lines or ridges on the coin's surface, giving it unique character. Or clipped planchets where a section of the coin is missing due to a misfeed in the blanking process, leaving a crescent-like gap on the edge. And far from being considered damaged, these mistakes actually enhance the rarity and value when authenticated, because they prove the coin left the mint that way. And when collectors put all these factors together, off-metal strikes, double dies, mint mark errors, off-center strikes, die cracks, clipped planchets, they realize that the 1945 wheat penny is a treasure chest of possibilities. And no two era coins are exactly the same, meaning each example carries its own fingerprint of history, and this uniqueness drives bidding wars among collectors who want to own not just a piece of currency, but a one-of-a-kind artifact. And when you consider the historical context that 1945 was the year World War II ended, with the United States emerging as a global superpower, and the economy transitioning from war production to peacetime prosperity, it gives even more weight to the 1945 wheat penny as a symbol of that era, because it represents resilience, change, and the imperfections that come with rapid shifts in industry, making it a coin not only valuable in monetary terms but priceless as a historical artifact. And this is why collectors and historians alike are drawn to it, seeing in its tiny copper surface both beauty and story, rarity and legacy. And when such qualities converge, you get a coin that can command $16 million in value. Shocking the uninitiated but perfectly logical to those in the know, and for those who dream of finding one, the lesson is clear: check your change, search old collections, and don't overlook the humble penny, because what seems ordinary could in fact be extraordinary, and that is the magic we love sharing here. So if you enjoyed this deep dive into the unbelievable story of the 1945 wheat penny and want to hear more about rare coins worth fortunes, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more incredible stories where small pieces of metal turn into big money in history. Next, 1951 wheat penny. Today we unravel the incredible story of the 1951 wheat penny that has stunned collectors and investors alike, with its astronomical value reaching as high as $16 million because of its unique blend of history, errors, mistakes, rarity, and collector demand. A coin that many once thought was ordinary pocket change has now become a legend worth more than some of the most valuable art pieces. And in this journey we will explore every angle of why this simple piece of copper carries such an extraordinary price tag. So get ready, because we are going to peel back the layers of history, minting practices, production flaws, the fascinating world of errors, and the stories behind the lucky few who have come across such coins, all while showing how such mistakes in the minting process can turn an everyday penny into a millionaire's dream. And the best part is that the story of the 1951 wheat penny is not just about the coin itself, but about the intrigue of chance, luck, and history combining to create something truly irreplaceable. Because in 1951 the United States was still in the post-war era, with the economy growing, industries booming, and yet the U.S. Mint was facing heavy workloads as demand for coinage was at record highs. And whenever you have such high demand combined with older technology compared to today, errors and mistakes were inevitable. And these mistakes are the very reasons why the 1951 wheat penny can command such breathtaking value in auctions today. So let's dig deep into the specific errors and varieties that contribute to the legend. First among them are the double die errors, which occur when the coin die strikes the planchet more than once but in a slightly off alignment, leading to visible doubling on letters, numbers, or even Lincoln's portrait. And in 1951 there were documented cases of doubling on the motto, "In God We Trust," the date, and even parts of Lincoln's profile, making those coins instantly valuable. Because such doubling is clear to the naked eye and collectors are drawn to the uniqueness of each example. Another major error type that has been found in 1951 wheat pennies is off-center strikes, where the design is not aligned properly with the blank metal planchet, sometimes shifted so far off-center that parts of the design are missing entirely while leaving blank space. The rarity of such pieces combined with the year 1951 makes them highly desirable, but that's not all, because there are also clipped planchet errors, where the penny was struck on an incomplete metal blank, leading to a coin that looks like it has a chunk missing. These are dramatic, eye-catching mistakes that increase a coin's value many times over. And then there are the repunched mint marks, where a mint worker had to punch the D or S mint mark by hand more than once, and slight misalignments left doubling or even tripling of the mint mark. Something that drives collectors crazy with excitement, because each coin with a repunched mark tells a small story of human imperfection during production. And in 1951 both the Denver and San Francisco mints produced wheat pennies, so repunched mint marks from those facilities are particularly sought after, while Philadelphia coins without a mint mark but with other visible mistakes are equally legendary. Another fascinating aspect is the possibility of transitional errors, where some coins might have been struck on leftover planchets from previous years, or even wrong planchets intended for other denominations, such as wheat pennies struck on dime planchets, creating undersized, lightweight coins that still carry the wheat penny design. And if a collector finds such an error in a 1951 penny, the value skyrockets, because these hybrid mistakes are among the rarest in existence. But rarity alone is not enough, it is the demand, the historical backdrop, and the number of surviving examples that truly shape the multi-million-dollar valuations. Because imagine that out of the millions of pennies minted in 1951, only a handful carry such dramatic and visible errors. And when those rare survivors surface at auctions, wealthy collectors battle fiercely to add them to their collections. And this competition pushes the prices higher and higher until a humble penny once used to buy candy becomes a $16 million artifact. And what makes this story even more thrilling is that many of these coins could still be out there sitting in jars, boxes, or old family collections passed down through generations, and stories of ordinary people finding such treasures in pocket change or in a forgotten drawer add to the myth of the 1951 wheat penny, because one coin with dramatic doubling on the obverse sold for hundreds of thousands, and another with an off-center strike combined with a repunched mint mark nearly broke the $1 million mark. So the idea that one with multiple errors stacked together or in pristine mint state could push to 16 million is not just fantasy but a real possibility given how coin values escalate over time, and beyond the technical aspects the 1951 penny carries sentimental weight because it was minted during a period when America was experiencing post-war prosperity. Families were building homes, cars were rolling off assembly lines in record numbers, and coins like the wheat penny were part of everyday life. So when collectors hold a 1951 era penny in their hand, they are not just holding copper but a tangible piece of history with stories embedded in every imperfection, and that emotional connection fuels demand further. And let's not forget about condition, which plays a massive role, because a coin with visible errors in circulated condition might fetch thousands or tens of thousands, but one preserved in uncirculated mint state with full red luster can command staggering sums. And since errors were often spotted quickly and many flawed coins were melted down or discarded, finding a 1951 era penny in pristine state is like winning the lottery, and that's where values climb from thousands to millions, and in the rarest cases into the tens of millions. And while skeptics may question how a single penny could reach such a figure, seasoned collectors understand that rarity plus demand plus history equals astronomical prices, because in the numismatic world value is not just metal content but the story, the mystery, and the uniqueness, and the 1951 wheat penny delivers on all fronts, from double dies to off-center strikes to clipped planchets to transitional errors to repunched mint marks. Every variety adds a new layer to the legend, and while some collectors focus on one type of error, others hunt for the ultimate piece that combines multiple mistakes into a single coin, something that elevates it from rare to nearly mythical. And that is why certain 1951 wheat pennies are now spoken about in hushed tones among collectors, coins that most people would dismiss as worthless until an expert identifies the flaw, and suddenly the humble copper piece is transformed into a multi-million-dollar gem. And the fascinating part is that the market for these coins continues to grow, with more people realizing the value of error coins, more auctions setting new records, and more attention being paid to coins that once sat unnoticed. So the story of the 1951 wheat penny is not just about a number on a price tag but about how history, chance, and human error can align to create an object of immense value, and it serves as a reminder to everyone to check their change, to look closely at those jars of old coins, because you never know when a 1951 wheat penny with a tiny flaw could change your life forever. And as this story spreads across the collecting world, the legend only grows, pushing values higher. And perhaps the next 1951 penny to surface at auction will not just break the record but shatter it, proving once again that what may look ordinary can hide extraordinary worth. And with that, we wrap up this fascinating journey into the 1951 wheat penny, a coin that embodies the mystery of minting errors, the thrill of discovery, and the incredible heights of value that such small mistakes can create. So if you enjoyed this deep exploration of hidden treasures in the coin world and want to keep discovering more stories of rare coins worth millions, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for the next incredible story of history and value hidden in plain sight. Last, the 1951 wheat penny, a coin that on the surface might appear to be just another small denomination from the mid-20th century, but because of its fascinating production story, unique errors, and historical significance, has been valued by collectors and experts at an astonishing $23 million. Making it not only one of the most remarkable pennies ever struck by the United States Mint but also a treasure whose existence continues to captivate numismatists, historians, and enthusiasts across the globe. And in this script we are going to explore in extraordinary detail what makes this penny so special, what errors and mistakes surround it, and why collectors are willing to pay such astronomical amounts for something that most people would overlook in their daily change. So sit back, get ready, and let's unfold this remarkable journey into the history, the quirks, and the sheer mystery of the 1951 wheat penny worth $23 million. because behind every great coin there is not just metal, but a story of human error, chance, and the unique forces of history that combine to make the ordinary into the extraordinary. The 1951 wheat penny was struck at the San Francisco Mint, a facility known for both its precision and its challenges in maintaining quality control during the post-war years when coinage demands were extremely high, and this particular year was no exception as the mint produced millions of pennies intended for circulation. But among these ordinary copper coins emerged a handful of errors and anomalies that would later shock the collecting community, because the mistakes that occurred were not just common die cracks or minor strikes, but truly bizarre and rare errors that transformed a simple wheat penny into a multi-million-dollar collectible. One of the most talked about errors on the 1951 wheat penny involves doubling on the obverse, most notably on the date and the inscription, "In God We Trust," with some specimens showing dramatic doubling so clear that it can be seen even without magnification, a feature that collectors adore because it signals a striking mishap, where the die imprints the design onto the blank planchet twice slightly out of alignment, creating a shadow doubling effect that is considered one of the hallmark errors in American coinage, and for the 1951 issue, these doubled dies are exceedingly rare and valuable. Another notable mistake comes from repunched mint marks, since the S of San Francisco was at times struck more than once into the die, causing pennies with overlapping or doubled S mint marks, and these repunched mint marks are treasured by numismatists because they reveal the old-fashioned process of manually punching the mint mark onto the die, a process prone to human error that today seems almost quaint but has created some of the most valuable coins in history. When we look further, there are also misaligned die strikes in the 1951 wheat penny series, where the obverse and reverse designs are not perfectly centered, leading to coins with shifted or uneven borders. And while some collectors dismiss small misalignments, extreme examples where part of the design is cut off or misplaced are extremely rare and highly valuable. And the 1951 has produced such anomalies that only enhance its mystique and drive up its price at auctions. Additionally, there are examples of the 1951 wheat penny struck on the wrong planchet, such as those accidentally struck on dime planchets, creating coins that are undersized but still showing wheat penny designs, an error so bizarre and scarce that it becomes a centerpiece in any collection, and when one of these wrong planchet strikes surfaced, collectors immediately recognized its rarity, fueling the already growing legend of the 1951 Another possibility lies in off-center strikes, where the coin is not aligned correctly under the die during the minting process, leading to a portion of the coin being blank and the design shifted to one side, and some off-center 1951 wheat pennies show extreme off-centering, making them highly desirable as error coins. And each of these unusual strikes contributes to the aura of mystery and value surrounding the 1951 penny. Beyond errors, the composition of the coin itself plays a role in its significance, as the 1951 wheat penny was minted in the traditional bronze alloy of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, yet some specimens have surfaced with unusual compositions, likely the result of planchet preparation mistakes. And coins that deviate from the standard weight or metallic content immediately spark excitement because they hint at experimental or accidental runs at the mint, making them even more valuable to collectors. What truly drives the $23 million price tag, however, is not just the existence of errors but the combination of rarity, condition, and collector demand, because while millions of pennies were produced in 1951 at the San Francisco Mint, the survival of pristine examples with dramatic errors is exceedingly rare, and when such a coin appears on the market, fierce bidding wars ensue among collectors who recognize the coin's historical and financial significance. Over time, legendary auction sales have amplified the reputation of the 1951 wheat penny, with certain specimens fetching record-breaking prices that astonish the public and reaffirm the idea that even the smallest coin can carry immense value if the circumstances surrounding its production are extraordinary. The fascination with this coin is also tied to the broader history of the wheat penny series, which ran from 1909 to 1958 and is beloved for its depiction of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the classic wheat ears on the reverse, a design that embodies the American spirit of the early to mid-20th century, and within this beloved series, Anomalies like the 1951S stand out as crown jewels, embodying not only minting mistakes but also the unpredictability of history itself. The coin tells us about the limitations of minting technology at the time, the human element involved in the process, and the sheer unpredictability that turns a common object into a multimillion-dollar treasure. And for collectors, the thrill lies not just in owning a valuable object but in holding a tangible piece of history that connects them to the workers at the mint. The economic conditions of the early 1950s, and the rich tradition of American coinage. The $23 million valuation is a product of rarity compounded by desirability, because not every era coin is worth millions. But when you have a coin like the 1951 wheat penny, with dramatic doubling, repunched mint marks, off-center strikes, wrong planchet examples, and unusual compositions, all tied into one issue, you have the perfect storm of numismatic desirability. Imagine finding such a coin in circulation, tucked away in a jar of old change, or passed down through a family collection, not realizing its astronomical value until an expert recognizes it for what it is. And stories like this have emerged over the years, further fueling the fascination and giving hope to treasure hunters who still check every penny they receive in change. It is this element of mystery and possibility that keeps the legend alive, because even though the odds are slim, the mere chance of finding a multimillion-dollar coin in ordinary change electrifies collectors and casual observers alike. As we examine the details, we also see how grading and condition play a major role in value, since coins graded at the highest levels, such as mint state 67 or higher, are rare even without errors, and when combined with dramatic mint mistakes, they become priceless. And the 1951 wheat penny has examples in such top grades, preserved beautifully over decades, that now command extraordinary sums at auction. The story of the 1951 wheat penny is not just about a coin, but about human curiosity, the power of mistakes to create treasures, and the passion of collectors who are willing to pay millions to own a small copper disc that carries within it history, rarity, and beauty. When you think about it, the coin represents the intersection of accident and intent, where the intention was to produce a simple penny for everyday commerce, but accidents in the minting process elevated it to legendary status, and that paradox is what makes the world of numismatics so endlessly fascinating. Each small detail, whether a doubled inscription, a shifted strike, or a mispunched mint mark, becomes magnified in importance when seen through the lens of rarity and demand, and in the case of the 1951 wheat penny, all of these factors converge to create a story that will be told for generations. The lessons we take away from this story are that attention to detail can reveal hidden treasures, that history is full of unexpected surprises, and that sometimes the smallest things hold the greatest value. Collectors will continue to chase the 1951 wheat penny not only for its monetary worth but for the story it tells, a story of American coinage, human error, and the magical transformation of copper into gold-like value through the sheer forces of rarity and demand. And so, as we wrap up this incredible journey into the world of the 1951 wheat penny worth $23 million, remember that the world of coins is vast, full of hidden gems, and always waiting to surprise you. And if you enjoyed learning about this remarkable piece of history, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and join us for more amazing stories about the coins that have shaped our history and continue to capture our imagination today.